Hello there, how are you? I hope you're doing well and that you're having an amazing day. I apologize if you hear some rain sounds going on in the background. We're having a little bit of a downpour, but we're gonna roll with it because it's been a big year. Why not? Let's have a little bit of drama of the rain going on in the background, but I really appreciate you checking out where I ended up with Pan That Palette for 2020 because, whew, oh boy, it has been a year. I've learned a lot, even though there's been a lot more jumping around than typical. So my goal for the year was to go on and finish as many MAC shadows as I could out of my collection. Obviously that goal kind of ebbed and flowed quite a bit throughout the year because there were weeks that I would wear makeup and then there were weeks that I wouldn't. So my progress was kind of like a roller coaster through everything throughout the year. So in order to kind of make sense of this hodgepodge, let's just kind of go through, we'll start with Semi Sweet Times 9 because that palette I really learned a lot about myself. So when we began 2020, I had a full palette of MAC Semi Sweet Times 9, and if we didn't have the pandemic looming over us, I think that I would have gotten further, but I am proud to say that this is what's going on with the last of the Semi Sweet Times 9. And as you can see, I have finally hit pan in this mustard shade. So let's talk about that because it ended up being the most challenging shade for me to use out of this palette. It is not flattering for me to wear it on my eyes, like on my lid area or even in my crease. It kind of comes across a little bit of a, I don't want to say poop brown, but there's just enough yellow in it where it looks kind of awkward on my skin. I guess that's the way I want to put it. However, that being said, I decided to try it on my lower lash line mixed with other browns in my collection. And I don't want to say that it color corrects, but in a way it kind of does because it's not unflattering and it tones down that smoky vibe where it's very daytime appropriate so I can wear it every day like today. I actually have that mustard shade smoked out with a mid-tone brown from the Lorac Mega Pro 3. I've done it with MAC shadows and I really, really enjoy it. So I'm actually going to continue panning this throughout 2021 and then end up with another officially done palette. So while it's not finished when I'm supposed to finish it with Pan That Palette Back2MAC 2020, it will get done because I'm really, really enjoying this. And I kind of wish I would have figured out that tip a whole lot sooner because I definitely could have finished this palette. However, the biggest takeaway that I've learned is that I think I finally found my holy grail palette. I literally was able to do everything that I wanted to accomplish from minimal makeup days to really smoked out makeup days because part of my purchases this year, I did go on and repurchase the palette. Not only is it helpful to talk about right now, but like I said, this is going to be a palette that I know that I will forever be able to use in my arsenal because, like I said, I can go from easy daytime looks. I was able to use every single shade in the palette and love and enjoy using it. And I can also amp it up and go for super smoky looks that have that little bit of a pop having that burgundy. So let's talk about how I use the palette. So going into it, I would start off my look with an easy warm brown. MAC Soft Brown happened to be what I was using from one of my singles. And then if I was having a minimal makeup day, let's just go off with the minimal. I would take the soft brown and I would run it through my crease and I would dust a little bit on my lid and then I would follow through with this mid-tone brown in my crease. And then I would highlight with this beautiful kind of a glowy highlighting shade over here. It's more of a satin. There's definitely no glitter, but it's not super shimmery. It was just a beautiful everyday, kind of give my eyes a little bit of a boost look. And then I would go through, this was it this one? This shade over here is absolutely brilliant. I ended up using this in my eyebrows, or if I wanted a cooler tone vibe, I would use this to kind of smoke out my crease. I would also use this espresso shade as a liner. I would use it to deepen up my outer corner on light days, on smoky days, you name it, I could find a way. This matte black over here I used in a stereotypical way as a liner, or if I wanted to smoke out with a black, I could do that. but literally that was like an everyday go-to kind of a vibe that I didn't have to think about. When I wanted to do a smokier look, what I would do is I would go through with the MAC Soft Brown again in my crease, and then I would take this peach shade over here and put that all over my lid. I would follow through with this highlighter shade in my inner corner and on my brow bone. And then I would take this burgundy shade right here and run it all in my crease. And then I would deepen it up with the espresso brown over here. So easy, easy, beautiful look. And then in order to kind of make it a little bit more cohesive with my blush, since I've been wearing the Clinique Cheek Pop in Cola Pop for a good chunk of the year, I would take this mauve shade over here and mix it with the Clinique Cola Pop and just run it through my crease to kind of warm up the look. As you can see, I just have the blush on today, but I would take that mauve in there and really just kind of zhuzh up my crease area. So it gave me a way to literally use every single shade in this palette. And like I said, it hasn't been until the last couple of weeks of the year, but I finally figured out with this mustard shade, whereas before I was like using the burgundy on my lower lash line, or I would use other shadows, but this mustard shade mixed with like the warm brown on the lower lash line is so incredibly flattering. And it's not something I would have immediately thought, because I have been able to wear mustards in the past depending on what shade of mustard they are, but this particular shade, it was just kind of like, it wasn't warm brown where I could make it work with a lot of different combinations, but at the same time on the lower lash line, I don't know, it just works. So honestly, this is the first time it's ever happened, but this has been the one palette that by the time I got done with it, I was like, yes, I absolutely could see myself continuing to use this again. So I bought myself a backup. I'm tossing it into my travel bag because literally when I'm on the go, going out of town, when, you know, COVID's not as much of a factor in the future, this is going to be an easy, work appropriate, you know, everyday appropriate kind of a vibe that I can still take, you know, for nights out and zhuzh it up or whatever. So awesome, awesome palette. And literally every single shade found its way to becoming a favorite for me. And the matte black especially love, because it's not super chalky. It's not a hot mess to put all, you know, to put on the eye, because when I would use it with a liner brush, it wasn't caking up or leaving a lot of fallout all over my face. It's just a great, great palette. And honestly, this little palette right here with the matte shadows honestly made me fall in love with the MAC formula. I'm a huge fan. I'm not as big of a fan necessarily with the shimmers and some of the satins, but this palette in particular, if there's one palette I would personally recommend from MAC, the Semi-Sweet x9 is definitely a must for me. So I'm feeling good. We're gonna get through this in 2021, hopefully by like February or March. I'm gonna keep going with this look for a little bit. Like today I combined it with more of a gold brown smoky vibe, but easy. So not necessarily in terms of like all MAC shadows, but when I ran out of the burgundy in this palette, or actually I should say this palette, but when I ran out of that shade, I actually moved into two different shadows. So this kind of takes us into our next set of MAC shadows. I went on and started using I'm Into It. It's this beautiful burgundy shade that you can see I was able to hit pan. And a little bit of a sidebar, I also was able to go through with my Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette, and I was able to completely finish panning out All Star, which is that beautiful shade in the Subculture palette. So it really made me excited to be able to get through some more shadows in my collection. So I was able to make it through All Star. The other shadow I wanted to talk about that kind of helped me get back into the Subculture palette again was the kind of a, I don't know how you, it's a cool tone brown, but this brown down here in the corner, so if you're looking at the palette correctly, this brown down here, I love using in my brows. It's like the perfect, not too cool, not too warm kind of a vibe. Like I'm using a different shade today, but it was just a beautiful way to give me a strong eyebrow without being over the top. And after I finished that particular shadow, I went through and finished Mercury, which was the beautiful kind of a taupey brown in the Subculture palette as well. So a little bit of a I don't want to say like sidebar goal, sidebar accomplishment. of going through and panning palettes, and then you get to hit pan and some other things. So that's where we are with Subculture palette. But anyways, going back into this little six pan palette that I've got going here, I was able to finish 2 shadows in the bottom. So this originally was MAC Soft Brown that I had in a compilation of singles, and I went on and repressed the mauve shadow from the Semi Sweet x9. So technically I had a little bit more to finish than just the mustard brown out of this palette. But this is what I'm working with, and when I get back to wearing that burgundy look, it's going to be easy to go on and pan this. So I'm not going to start on this palette in, just yet, because I've got a couple of the colors in here. And then this shadow right here, the original intention was for it to go in with the mustard brown. So that's going to be how I continue using a shade like this in the future. Excuse me. And the other shade I was able to finish out of this palette, this was originally a shade called Gold Bit. It was a beautiful, shimmery, kind of a peachy gold champagne highlight. It was a very, very sparkly shade if I wanted to wear it in its full glory, but I could also tone it down and wear it as kind of a more subtle highlight. It was gorgeous. I love that shade. In fact, I don't know if MAC sells that shade as a single. I'll have to go and look, because it really is truly worth checking out. I really fell in love with it. And again, like over the course of this year, I fell in love with the MAC formula, even though it swatches terribly. Good gravy, it swatches terribly. But on the eyes, it does an amazing job, and the makeup lasts beautifully all day long. So bonus on that. All right, and then I kind of talked about these in the, my plans for panning in 2021, but let's recap. I was working on 2 neutral palettes from MAC that I was able to hit pan. This is my MAC Warm Neutrals palette. I was able to hit pan in 2 shades officially. So when I finished the highlighting shade out of the Semi Sweet x9, I moved into this highlighting shade. I was able to hit pan. And when I finished the Espresso Brown and Semi Sweet, I moved into this Espresso Brown. So awesome. I feel good about what I was able to accomplish. And when I finished Soft Brown, I moved into this warm brown called Saddle over here that I'm currently wearing in my crease as a transition shade as well. So easy, easy, easy. And this segues, I'm going to be working on this for the start of 2021 in terms of that palette for more of a pan those eyeshadows kind of a vibe. So I'm trying to think of what I should call that anyway, because since I'm working on 3 shadows at a time, should it be like thrice as nice? I don't know, like all the ideas I'm kind of thinking in my head sound really silly and kind of cheesy, but I'll figure it out. I don't know, it's maybe I have like too much time on my hands to figure out. Anyways, so, and then the other palette I was working on is this MAC in the Flesh palette, and as you can see, I did make some strides here too, because when I finished Mercury from the Anastasia Subculture palette and that shade from MAC Semi Sweet x9, I started in on MAC in the Flesh, and I'm currently using this to just kind of fill in the sparse areas of my eyebrows after I go through with an eyebrow pencil, and it's really, really beautiful. Love, love that shade. And then I'm also working on the Matte Black, because once I finished the Matte Black and Semi Sweet, this was a nice segue. And then I'm working on this highlighting shade over here. Oh, there you go. Now you can see the dips. I've been working on this highlighting shade. And when I finished the peach in the Semi Sweet x9, I went on and started in on this kind of a pinky peach tone. It's more pink than that peach, but it gave me a very similar effect. So I went on and just started using it, and I enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to kind of incorporating that burgundy look here and there throughout 2021, but like I said, I'm going to be kind of jumping around a little bit more with kind of a roulette style with pan those eyeshadows vibes. So in any case, there we go. I was very surprised to realize that I'd found a holy grail palette. Like, I don't know, throughout all these years of panning palettes, I've worked with a lot of eyeshadows, I finished a lot of eyeshadows, and I honestly did not think I would get to a point of finding a one-stop shop kind of a palette, and I am really thrilled to find one that actually does fit the bill. So like I said, as far as recommendations go, after panning a lot of neutral palettes in my time and some colorful shadows along the way, it's really kind of nice to know that there is one palette out there that will do it all for me and that I don't have to pick and choose. That being said, as far as 2021 goes, I have posted a video just kind of talking about I will be doing more of a roulette style with pan those eyeshadows, and still panning palettes because I want to pick 3 shades from my palette to really get some concentrated use. So I hope that you will stay tuned for how that's going to go next year, because already, like, I've been working on my MAC Warm Neutrals, MAC in the Flesh, and then I'm also working on Lorac Mega Pro 3 to just kind of get me started. And once I hit 3 shades in this palette, and hopefully finishing, I want to hit pan in this warm brown, and then I want to hit pan in the highlighting shade and then the matte black. But I don't know, after today, I fell in love with this look I did today of wearing a teal liner. So if that is becomes my new normal for a little bit, to finish out some of the teal shades in here, like today I worked on Untamed. Obviously it's gonna be quite some time before I hit pan and that matte black. So I'll keep you posted. Either way, it is kind of nice to just play with my makeup collection again and still get some concentrated use. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this today, and I wish you all the best in your painting, because like I said, I know it's been an uphill, kind of a roller coaster year for you as well. And I know with wearing makeup, it's been kind of like, why bother? But at the same time, it is still fun to go through the process. So I appreciate you, and I look forward to catching up with you very soon. So until next time, take care. Adios.